Anahita. Thank you so much for being here with Open House. Firstly, happy Mother's Day to you and all the other mothers out there. To all our listeners at Open House, we're a bunch of young folks from Stanford and IIT who are bringing all things learning under one roof. We're currently up and running in Calcutta and Bangalore, where we support over 3,000 students and 150 teachers. Before we jump into the questions, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you started the Green Pocket?
Hi, Nida. Thanks for inviting me to speak to mums out here. Well, I started Green Pocket as a place for basically running summer camps with my 2.5, close to 3-year-old daughter in 2008. And following that, a year later, with my younger one, I started a little playgroup for children in the neighborhood.
Do you have any special plans for Mother's Day with your girls?
Well, my daughters woke me up with a surprise. They had done this cute little collage and they said, since you can't go out, and they created some sort of a lotion for me with perfume and made some lip balm. And now they're cooking a meal. Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. That's going to be, it sounds like a lovely day.
We're a joint family, so we are planning something for the grandmom and the aunt next door. Like a Zoom meeting later with the other cousins around.
So let me start with the questions. The first question is specific to younger children. The parent asks, younger children tend to forget if learning isn't happening on a continuous basis. What can parents do to ensure child continues to learn during the lockdown and in the likelihood that schools are going to be postponed?
Okay. So learning is very subjective. What do you mean by learning? Now, if your child sees you in the morning, as simple as washing a vessel, and you engage them with that activity and they start washing, they're learning how to wash. And when they're washing, you talk about water and how to save water, and you can do a certain basic counting activity. That itself becomes learning. So it depends on what you want learning. If you call sitting with your storybooks and reading them a story and interacting about the story, learning is happening there. You can sit with them with their coloring books, teach them colors, learning is happening there. You can, as I said, bend a little bit of your rules and we can do screen time and a little bit of there are educative videos which can be learning happens there. But children have a short attention span for one reason being their age. And second thing is nowadays children also have so much distraction. So it's like 15 minutes and they need a change, 15 minutes and they need a change. So if you sit calm and patient and engross them in maybe let's make the atta with water and make a dough out of it, that will obviously take longer time. Give them a whole lot of maybe newspaper and paper, let's tear it up, create a little messy corner, let's maybe stick something, and then you can make it into a number activity. Let's try and stick things in 5 circles. So there's always constant learning, but it depends on what you mean learning. Learning doesn't just mean your ABCD 1 to 3, that anyone and everyone will eventually learn. And learning is just a whole lot of things, So they can learn even sitting with their grandparents and hearing a story of their grandparents' childhood. That's learning. Right now we're finding pictures of 3 generations older than me, and I'm learning about my family 3 generations ago. So learning is very subjective, but yeah, you can, whatever you do, if your child is involved in it, your child's going to learn.
That was awesome. Like some great ideas there. The next question is how to ensure, it's all actually kind of similar, ensure learning even while watching movies and cartoons. So feedback that we got is a lot of the children are just spending their entire day during watching movies and cartoons. So parents want to know how they can imbibe learning at this point while they're doing this.
I recently got a message from one of the parents who told me, she said that she has not been able to basically do a lot of, sitting with the child. So it's okay, I give my child screen time, which is fine. So one of the teachers suggested that Peppa Pig has a lot of activity-related cartoons. If a child is watching that as screen time, it's fine because they learn something on gardening, nature, so many things. Then there's another nice one called Ben and Holly. These people teach the child a lot on adventure and concepts. So there are lots of, screen time cartoons which children can watch, monitor it, but keep a balance of it. Like if the child learns something on gardening, you can also take a little old vessel, try and put in some grains, let them grow their own. And nowadays, lots of people are into this microgreen. I know two of my students' parents are teaching their children about growing microgreens at home. So it's all about teaching them. And if you have pets, get your children involved at the young age in grooming them, that every day you brush your doggies and take care of them and things like that. So you don't have to be the whole time with screen, but I know now everyone has to get back to work, parents have things. So you find a good 1-2 hours of screen time, balance it out, and there's a lot of information online. So you have to see what you're looking at, what age your child is, and get them involved with that. Yeah.
The next question is more specific to the Green Pocket. How is being in a greener environment impacted children? Like, is it like based on your observations and feedback from the parents who sent their kids to the Green Pocket?
Okay, so basically the whole idea of studying in greenery and being out is because I grew up on a farm. So for me, our childhood was amazing, and the stories that we can narrate and tell about our childhood is so different from others who have not stayed on a farm and greenery. So that was my basic idea. So students who come to my school, it's not only about going home and saying, I learned my number, I learned a color. They said today the baby bunny was jumping around. Today the doggy, because we have a kennel next door, the doggy was looking over the wall, and when we were singing, the doggy was also there looking at us. I mean, they're able to relate. Or today the teachers removed the mangoes and we cut it and we ate it. So when you're growing up in an environment where there is nature and where there are animals around you, the kind of stories that you go back home and narrate, or you're able to think, or you recall of your childhood is a little bit different, So that's one part. And then they do gardening. So 1 year we had brinjals. I remember they grew brinjals, and children, that's one of the last vegetables they would eat.
Yeah.
We had children going home and actually eating brinjal that they took back home, like cooking it for their mamas and eating. So educating children in nature, of course, makes them very empathetic. They see an injured animal, they will stop their parents and say, Mama, that doggy is hurt. Or they come in the next day in the morning and tell me about the cat, or things like that. So it makes a big difference. For me, that was important, that they get those sort of memories and stories to narrate and remember about their childhood.
That's really amazing. So the next question is, what would you suggest for parents who prefer more structured and traditional education, mainstream, for their children?
See, mainstream education is absolutely fine. I studied in a convent also, which was mainstream. If you call that as your mainstream education, yes. What we are doing over here is also our children are learning everything. They are learning all their letters, their numbers, their concepts, everything, but the way is different. Now, if you talk about mainstream education, does a parent mean that you just talk about studies and a blackboard and inside the class? Is that what they mean?
No, so I think at this point, because the whole concept of mainstream education is going to change with the whole corona, because you don't get that experience of the blackboard and studies in the classroom environment right now. So do you have any suggestions on how parents can try to maintain that level of discipline and that kind of structure with the child at this point?
Be very honest, the next few months is going to be trial and error for us as educators, as parents, because it's just a sudden bomb that's come on, and we all have to innovate our way of thinking. So if they even going to be doing their normal classes instead of in a classroom at home, see that you still have a balance of things. Like I told my students' parents, okay, you're sitting at home, you cannot go out. You have a window. Open the windows out, let there be enough of sunshine, let the children look out, something simpler like that. But studies has to be there, right? Studies has to be there. So the only thing is that we have to change. So there will be more screen time, but as parents, you'll have to think of activities to do with your children. Whenever you get a little chance, take them out. As I told you in the beginning, keep your house as clear and away so there's open space for the children. That's the best. If you have a terrace, great. You have a balcony, great. If you don't have, you have to work in your house with something like that.
All right.
And traditional education would be your normal schools where you sit and learn things. And that I'm sure we'll all come back to someday, because our body will get immune to this virus. We will get back to it. But till then, try and create in your home a nice balance. Initially, we didn't think this would extend, so we said don't make your homes like your classroom, just have fun with your children. But in reality, if this is going to go on for the next couple of months, you'll have to have a balance with your child, whatever, whether it's a 3-year-old or a teenager.
And the last question is pretty similar to the previous one, but how important was it for you to ensure your play school was connected with lush green?
I think that sort of grew out of because I grew up on a farm with cousins, a big joint family, and for me that's very important. But now see, right now with the lockdown, there is no lush green at all. The least I can do is maybe take my laptop, put it into school so the children get to see greenery, and we show them pictures and they sort of remember about it. But we just hope we can all get back to it because that's my concept out in nature. But as I said, we all are going to try and innovate our ideas and be as creative, and let's hope for the best.
Yeah.
Greenery, nature is something which is so important, and I think after this entire episode of COVID, people will understand because we have really messed up nature. Lots and lots of schools, people, humans are going to try and see that learning, upbringing of the children are going to happen in nature. More people you will see maybe taking more care of things around them, as much as maybe having balcony gardens, terrace gardens, taking their children more on hikes and camps and healthier things.
Yeah, I mean, I think we took it for granted all these days, and now that we don't get to enjoy it, we realize how amazing it is and how we've been destroying it over the past few years. So I'm hoping that this brings about the biggest, most positive change that we can, as humans, can possibly undertake.
So I was just hoping. And I must tell you that right now, because of no school happening, we have rabbits in our school, so they are like enjoying the silence. We've been having so many bunny babies, so we've been taking videos of the bunnies growing every stage and sharing it with us. So they've been seeing the bunnies growing through lockdown. Yeah,
that's really amazing. Anyway, that's it. We wrapped up all the questions. Thank you so much for your time, and once again, have an amazing Mother's Day.
So much.
It was great chatting with you.
All the best to you all also, and look forward to doing something fun with Open House.
Thank you.